So today, there's a lot of stuff going around on social media about fitness, trying to encourage, promote physical activity. But in this video, I'll be discussing one of the least talked about psychological disorders that goes along with exercising. Everyone's heard of anorexia, but have you heard of muscle dysmorphia? I'll get to the disorder in a minute, but first let me talk about fitness in general. Is working out really good for you?
The basic recommendations for physical activity are 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity, or about a half hour a day, 5 days a week.
In this video, Aaron Carl says that just 30 minutes of exercise is all you need each day. Later on in the video, he mentions that he gets his 30 minutes just by walking back and forth to his desk at his job. So 30 minutes really isn't too hard to do each day. There have been randomized control trials looking at various muscles, bones, and overall health. Randomized controlled trials, or RCTs, are pretty much trials done where one group is affected by a certain variable and another group isn't affected by that variable, and then the two groups are compared. So 32 RCTs have been done looking at the effect of exercise on pain in the knees. 10 RCTs have been taken on muscle strength in patients with arthritis. Exercise can reduce cardiac mortality by 31% in middle-aged men who have had previous heart attacks. 14 have shown physiologic benefits in patients with heart failure. 20 RCTs show that patients with COPD can walk further and function better if they exercise, and the list just goes on. So I never really questioned, is exercise helpful for the body physically? Because looking at the RCTs, there's a lot of stuff that does help you with. But can working out be harmful mentally?
Matters further, a lot of individuals with muscle dysmorphia don't have great insight into their condition. In the same way that someone with anorexia can look me in the eye and convincingly tell me that they're obese despite being clearly and dangerously thin, a person with muscle dysmorphia can look me in the eye, tell me they're scrawny despite being objectively very muscular.
So muscle dysmorphia, also known as bigorexia, is pretty much the reverse form of anorexia. But instead of people being worried about being too big or needing to lose weight, they're worried that they're not big enough. People with this disorder can convince themselves that they're small despite being very large or muscular. Now, patients with muscle dysmorphia take the whole 30 minutes of exercise per day to a whole new level, because each day they're in there for hours at a time trying to put on weight and mass. So I believe muscle dysmorphia is best defined in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The Merriam-Webster dictionary describes muscle dysmorphia as the pathological preoccupation with the perceived smallness or weakness of one's body and musculature, often leading to excessive exercise.
My issue with the way we sell exercise is that sometimes it feels too much like the way we sell organic food. The people who are doing way more than they need to are panicked that they're not doing enough, when there are far too many people out there who are doing none at all. Just walking from my office up and back to my clinic gets me the 30 minutes of walking that I need.
This is Rich Piana, a former competitive bodybuilder and muscle fanatic. He admitted to being a 30-year steroid user and said he didn't regret a thing. His motto for bodybuilding and everything else was whatever it takes. Rich Piana recently overdosed on steroids and went into a medically induced coma. Even after his competitive bodybuilding career, he wasn't satisfied with his size. He was one of the largest men in the bodybuilding industry and still wasn't big enough. His fitness regimen consisted of a massive steroid cycle, 9 meals a day, a series of workouts not fit for the average human being, and according to one profile, protein shakes big enough to drown a toddler in. Rich Piana is one example of a person with muscle dysmorphia. Here's Scott Griffiths, a therapist who deals with patients with eating disorders such as muscle dysmorphia and anorexia. In the following video, he'll talk about why muscle dysmorphia is a problem today.
So why? Why now? Why is muscle dysmorphia and anabolic steroids only on our radar now? Well, boys, just like girls, are influenced by the bodies they are exposed to. Behind me, you see action figurines of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo from the original release of the Star Wars trilogy. And on the right, you see the re-release.
Scott Griffiths, who works for the NHMRC, argues that, and I quote, "We create the environment where eating disorders can flourish." So he believes that the changes in social media and the technology that we're exposed to creates the eating disorders that exist today. So take a look at the 1966 Batman version with Adam West compared to the newer version with Christian Bale. Notice the chiseled six-pack in the image on the left. This is the look that social media now expects from superheroes, which is why young men expect themselves to look like the people that they idolize. The same thing goes for the 1987 Superman compared to the Superman today. He's adapted the broad shoulders, muscular arms, and chiseled six-pack look that young men try to duplicate.
As soon as you start to work out, you're going to realize that the mirror is both your best friend and your worst enemy. Looking in it will always reveal something new you want to work on. And this kind of self-criticism is necessary if you really want to improve.
People with muscle dysmorphia often compare themselves to bodybuilders that are bigger and more toned than they are. When they look in the mirror and see they're not exactly what they want to be, they get discouraged, and their main focus is to gain mass. This is why many people with the disorder resort to steroids. They try to live up to the impossible standards set by social media and other steroid users that they're discouraged every time. The only way to get rid of this disorder is if everyone starts comparing themselves to the person in the mirror instead of other people.
My number one competition is me. It's always you versus you. No coach, no trainer, no mentor, no boss can do it. You versus you.
So the big problem with muscle dysmorphia is that anyone can have it. There's really no physical signs pointing to someone having it. In fact, people with the disorder look like one of the healthiest people you'd know. So I believe that I have a mild case of muscle dysmorphia, but I think it's a very good thing. So I have certain symptoms such as feeling guilty on days that I don't go to the gym, not being satisfied with how big I already am, and always seeing things to work on when I look in the mirror. But I use this as motivation, and I think this disorder can be a very good thing if people use it the right way. So thanks for watching, guys.